Hey everybody, it's Mike Monkey Fab Garage, monkeyfabgarage.com. So I just gonna do these like what I think they call one and dones or one takes because I'm really bad at editing. So forgive me for I misspeak a lot. I notice that when I'm editing the videos. So just do me a favor and try to assume well and be kind. So we have this. You saw the last update. I'm in. We're putting in an anti-roll bar. We're wiring it and plumbing it. Basically is all we have to do. So I called the owner and we went over some stuff yesterday after I got to look at, snoop around the car. I built this turbo kit myself, on the relative cheap, I must say, for my buddy, because I like him. He's a cool guy, and he also does my septic system for me. I've never seen a bill in my life, which is unreasonable, to be honest. I like to pay my friends, and I could afford it. So anyway, got this guy in here. The whole thing. It took way longer than it should have, but I spent a lot of time thinking about everything that was involved here and how to get to stuff in this engine so that you see that V-band right down there. You see the port for the O2 sensor. You see what I'm getting at is like I spent a considerable time doing, you're limited with your constraints, but within those constraints I feel like I did a pretty good job of making sure. You see the V-band. I believe there's a V-band right there. It might be back further, but there is. I assure you back there's a V-band. Well, I'm pointing out those V-bands is that's the only thing you have to go underneath the car to undo. And if you do that, you take off these 4 bolts in the front of this intercooler, pop off the couplers, you take off the radiator hoses, and these two, and the radiator lifts out, and you could take the heads off of the engine and do a cam swap without ever lifting the car. So it's all, the point being is I designed that, right? that took a lot of time and effort. So I want the rest of the car to be the same way. If you're ever in the military and you ever packed a duffel bag, this is what I call duffel bag packing, right? You roll up your stuff and you pack it in there, and then midway through you think, oh, I got all the room in the world. But once you start just randomly throwing stuff in and not carrying, you run out of space. And cars are always duffel bag packing. So I want to keep that theme. It should be super easy to work on and user-friendly, all of that. So luckily he already had this. It showed up in a deal. I'm sure he paid for it, but he perceives it as being a freebie. I'm just kidding. He's a super sharp guy. He tried it because he was going to give it to me. He was trying to convince me how it was free because he doesn't, you know how it is with your friends. But we needed it for this because it'd be perfect. Because I hate the box. It's for lots of reasons, and I also hate all the holes in the car, like here, over here. So we'll get a brass spoon and weld all that up, right? And we'll utilize this. This is our plan. So we have this really nice unit right here. I'll talk about that in a second, that gas tank, and we're going to keep it simple. So I made this so that while I'm doing this, it gives me time to think. Wasting your time putting stuff in PowerPoint is stupid. But if you just need time to think, it works out. So this is how it's running. I found those, basically the same thing I have over there that you'll see, but it's from Summit, and it's claiming to be a Walbro 470 or something like that. And it's saying it's like 30 amps at 470 liters per hour, 60 PSI. Okay, we can make that work. So it's going to attach 10. We have our fancy convoluted Monkey Fab hoses I told you about going all the way through. We'll have shut-off valves so we can take the tank in and out if we have to service it. A filter. He's got a big boy filter in there. I just want a filter to filter, right? It doesn't have to be a super high number because it's a race car. Those should go out. These boop, 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 injector guys should go out every once in a while and be serviced, right? So it just should be there to collect poop, and there's filters on here too. So that's why I put it in there. You don't have, whatever. You do what you want to do, right? Then we got a fancy Motion Raceworks boy, flex fuel sensor adapter guy, fuel rails, fuel pressure regulator. And this is how we're wiring it. The trunk already has a battery, so we're going to put in a fuse box. It'll have a main, just a regular relay, one that's capable of running this motor, right? Going to that, and the second one will do a solid state relay. We'll pulse width modulate that in. I pop these in usually at like 50% duty cycle and wrap it in super quick. The idea is you need like a whoop instead of like a pop, right? Pop, I don't know. I don't have a fancy regulator like Pete does on my Chinese regulator. The pop makes it go boop and then go back down, which isn't necessarily good. But if I just ramp it at 50 and then bring it in, within like a second or less, it doesn't show up at all. So that works for me. That's the plan here because it works. We're going to use it again. Not my idea. I just stole it. I showed you the trunk. So this is what we have here. It has these guys. The only difference that I found with the fuel pumps that I have this, yes, is that the guys they came with have these little nipples on it, and there's this assembly with a C clip and an O-ring and these brass fittings that kind of retain that all into place. And it's, going to make high pressure, so you need that. But it's a nicely laid out deal. This guy has a barb on it. You can figure it out. I did. I'm an idiot, so I know you can do it. So we'll get 2 of those in there, and that should do it. This convoluted Dash 10, I have high hopes and high faith. Everything is super big ports. Look at the ports on this guy, right? That's a big Dash 10, right? And even the return is nice. So I think it's going to work. Look at the ports on that guy. Look at the ball bearing they put in there. That's like an inch wide BB. It's not quite that big. So, yep. And then we got all the kits and straps and stuff to put that in. The other thing I was looking at is the fuel tech. So I'm excited about the fuel tech because it's something new and I got to learn it. I'm also hating it because it's something new and I got to learn it. But the rewards always come in suffering, right? I'm looking at this. It's a nice unit. The software is a bit confusing because I'm used to the Holley, but I'm not unfamiliar with it because it's like some other stuff. If you've ever messed with tuning software, it's like when if you ever worked at a corporate job or whatever, like the military, I think it was corporate, and they have like PowerPoint, and then they just demand like 1 year. You have to use the new version of PowerPoint, but you never know where all the buttons are. That's all it is, just figuring out where the buttons are. So cool, excited about this. Pete's got a dash that basically just bolts in here, and this will mount to, which is really nice. It's like wood grain. It's nice. However, I'm looking at the harness, and I think this might be like an opportunity for like a win-win, right? The harness that came with this is super expensive. It's nice, and I think it would be exactly what I would design. I don't think I'd probably make any design changes in that harness if I was going to do the same. However, it is super expensive. These plugs we sell over on the website for, like $20 each, I think. What is this guy? Oh, that's just a Molex. Yeah, so we have all these plugs. And then we sell like a repin kit, like you can, obviously because the Holley is horrible and you're going to need to lengthen and shorten wires. So we sell a whole kit that has everything you need for either the 58 or the 24X for like, I think it's like $75, $90, something like that. So for, under, just over $100, I can have the connectors I need. I have plenty of wire and shrink tubing and, sheathing and all that stuff, loom. So I'm tempted just to build this, just because, like I said, I showed you guys all this attention I put in to try to make this simple, and then I see this, and like I said, this is exactly how I would build it if I was doing what they did. But what I like to see is just a straight lead going down, right? And then it branches off, a lead going down, a lead to the starter and crank, and then maybe one for the chassis. It should all just, or maybe even have it on a, what do you call these? A bulkhead? That would be nice. Maybe check with my boy Devin. See if he sells. I know he uses them, but I don't know if he sells them. It might be one of his voodoo pieces. Sometimes you don't sell everything, right? But I would like to clean that harness up, and then my buddy could maybe sell it because they are very expensive. They're very nice. I'm not talking shit about it. I just think like, hey, this is kind of what I do, and yeah, so we'll probably do that. And then I also got with Devin. He owns HHCR, and he's got this super fast convertible guy. But we got one of the relays that goes back here and works like a shutoff dill. So I'm also interested in that and wiring that in. So that's the big update right now. We got all the stuff on order to finish up the fuel system. We'll get that all put in place and hung. And then I'll take it over to the shop where we'll run all the hoses for it. And I got to figure out the computer wiring. And I already told Pete, but I need the bar to weld in there, which will probably be the easiest of all my tasks. So that is where we're at. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as my dog did. Until next time, it's Mike with Monkey Fab signing out.